Hey everybody, welcome back to Travel Trailer Nation. Today, let's call this topic the Green River Bridge incident. And it is a cautionary tale in the sense that you can be set up perfectly to tow, your brakes can be adjusted perfectly, your distribution of weight in your trailer and your tow vehicle can be perfect, and something bad can still happen. And that's why it's good to always be vigilant when you're en route. This story takes place with our 1990 Sprint trailer in the summer of 1992. We had just added a brand new awning to the trailer and decided we were going to take a little trip down to Cave City, Kentucky, where the kids could go to a KOA there, and they had a petting farm, which we thought would be a lot of fun for them. Plus, we could tour the caves. It would just be a really great kind of week vacation. So we took off and we got somewhere south of Indianapolis on I-65 and spent the night. Very uneventful evening. Never even unhooked from the 90 Ram van that we had. The next day we got up, we took off, and about 1 p.m. there was a yellow truck that had been riding in the left lane quite a bit, which they're really only supposed to be out there, at least at that time, for passing. And I had noticed that he'd been in the left lane a lot. And he finally got up next to us, and he was there for quite a while. And then all of a sudden, he locked up when his rear bumper was about equal with my front bumper and swerved into my lane. And he was towing two trailers behind him. And that, of course, caused me to swerve onto the shoulder of the road, which there was a decent shoulder there at that point. And I thought, and I could feel the trailer rocking. There was no doubt about that, because I had to make a quick move. And then I was on my brakes, and the trailer was rocking. And I really thought I was going to pull out of this thing unscathed. And then the guardrail came up to the Green River Bridge. And the first thing I heard was the back of the trailer hit the guardrail. And I thought, oof, there's some damage. And then I heard it hit again, and there was more damage. And then the guardrail came like this off the shoulder. And I knew at that point I wasn't slowing down fast enough to avoid the impact. So I tried to bring my end, the driver's side front, into his trailer, because we were up alongside his trailer at this point. I bet we were probably approaching maybe the very first trailer he was towing. So we were sandwiched in pretty good. And of course, I remember the window breaking on the door, and the crushing. And then it was kind of a slow but deliberate friction slowing. Not dangerous, not hard, just a grinding halt. And we ended up going out through the van windows because we were basically trapped. Nothing would open. I couldn't open up my doors. We couldn't open up Tammy's doors because she's against the guardrail. I'm against the semi. So we all bailed out through, I believe, the front of Tammy's window and went back. It was apparent to me almost immediately, and by the way, the truck driver did run up to me right away to make sure that everyone was okay, and he felt he had broken his arm in the collision. And we had gotten back, and he had said that there was a woman coming down the wrong side of the interstate. And that's what I mean by it's always important to look ahead. Of course, I had a truck ahead of me too, a ways, so I didn't see that far up the interstate. And I don't think he must have caught it right away either. Otherwise, I think he would have probably eased off and over. But she even tried to beat feet out of there after she ran him off the road and into us. And the people that were behind us were actually, because she cruised down into the median, and they were able to stop her. As it turns out, she was pretty elderly, and her son, who said he was in the back seat during all of this sleeping, I don't know, everyone kind of called that into question. But regardless of all of that, it took 2 tow wreckers to pull that semi off of our Ram van and our travel trailer. And then it took, obviously, a tow vehicle to get us off the guardrail. But it was apparent to me really quick that everything was totaled. The frame on the van, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure. But when they pulled us off the guardrail, the driver's door fell off the van anyway. And they just shoved it right back in. But I got a feeling that van was probably toast from a frame standpoint. The trailer itself, the Sprint, was shot. I mean, I got inside once they pulled it off. There were walls down in there, cabinets off. I'm sure the frame was twisted on it. There was a lot of damage on the outside as well. It didn't look horrible. I mean, it looked horrible, but it looked a lot worse inside than out. So that is where this starts to take kind of an interesting turn, because the interstate obviously came to a standstill, and it was at a standstill for over 2 hours. And I can remember the sheriff turning to me at one point, and he said, just as the traffic started to roll again, he said, the last time I checked, and it's been a while, we were shut down 20 miles back. So meanwhile, traffic starts to go around us, and Tammy mentions to me, she goes, you know, everybody that's driving by thinks that you did something, you did something wrong, and that's what caused this, which was probably true, but people were very nice. They went by. In fact, the people that were behind us when the accident occurred were on the spot asking if we were all okay, and they, provided witness statements of what happened. So from there, the sheriff took Tammy and the kids, along with a basket that we had in there that we had some sports stuff in, over to a motel, and she checked in there, which I'm sure looked funny, like she was trying to escape from a bad situation, which, don't get me wrong, it was, but it wasn't a domestic bad situation. So she went there and got everything set up, and I ended up filling out all the accident reports. And then we found out that the only place she could get a car, which was a long drive back, and Buck, the tow truck driver, had only room for one person in there, and I didn't have any credit cards with me. She was the only one that was carrying a credit card. And they wouldn't take one over the phone so that I could ride along. It had to be in person. So unfortunately, Tammy had to ride back with Buck, and that made me very nervous because I didn't know him. I didn't know anybody, but I knew one thing. He knew the sheriff, and my dad had kind of a funny response when I called him and told him what was going on, and that I didn't feel very comfortable with it. And he laughed, and he said, sometimes you just got to trust people. And he also said the same thing. This guy's not going to do anything. He knows the sheriff. It's going to be fine. The only thing we could rent was a Ford Aerostar van. Now we went from a full-size conversion van and a fully loaded Sprint 26-foot travel trailer to cramming everything the next day into a Ford Aerostar van to make our slow journey back to Wisconsin. And I say it's slow because I think the next day everybody was pretty burned out on everything. It took quite a while to load everything up and then get out of Dodge and back heading up north. So we spent a night in a hotel on the way back. And then we went through, when we were going through Indiana, we found another RV dealership and pulled in, and they had a Prowler there that was identical in floor plans to what the Sprint was, and kind of automatically fell in love with it. And I put some money down because I knew we weren't done camping and we weren't done with travel trailers. And so I ended up actually going back the next week and picking that trailer up while the flurry of insurance fiasco was going on back in Madison between our company and the truck company, and ultimately that driver that was coming down the wrong side of the interstate. And that was all eventually resolved to our satisfaction. But the long and the short of it is, it could have been so much worse had I been traveling with a hitch that wasn't adjusted properly, if my brakes weren't adjusted properly, if I hadn't been balanced correctly, things could have gotten even worse. So we were blessed that we came out of it, you know, no worse for wear other than being out of a full-size van and a travel trailer. So that's why I say it's so important to make sure that everything is correct when you hit the road, because it's not only you, and it's not only you going to your destination. There's innocent people on the road too, and the truck driver wasn't innocent as well. You know, he was minding his own business, driving, trying to get to his destination, although I would say he probably shouldn't have been out in the left lane as much as he was. But regardless of that, it wasn't his fault that this accident happened. He was reacting to something terrible that was going on in front of him. So anyway, that's my word of advice today. Always make sure you're doing your inspection on your hitch setup. Keep those bolts tight. Get your owner's manual out. Make sure that everything is torqued correctly, and don't think that things aren't going to loosen up, because they will. So stay on them, stay safe, and happy camping.